Good afternoon. Honorable, my question is just geared towards what we all know happens in Nigeria. All the time we see members of the judiciary, executive, legislature, they come down to England, America for healthcare. Buhari has come here more than 5 times for healthcare. It's shameful to me. How would your government, if you elected the president, tackle this idea of ministers going abroad for healthcare, for medical checkup and all that, when we have hospitals in Nigeria? Are they not working hospitals? I assume they're not working hospitals, hence they have to fly down here. How would your government please tackle the healthcare so that the common man can get good healthcare and stop all our ministers and the presidency shaming us coming here for healthcare all the time? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, I like that question. There's only one way to bring up the standards in Nigeria. Government will do its best from all the things that I mentioned. Stabilize the currency. You remember the economic agenda. Now, it is now left for the private sector to take advantage of the goodwill and good gesture of the government. If you don't have a private sector that is willing to complement the efforts of government, we're not likely to achieve much. And then the other side of it, which government cannot do, government cannot go into the minds of Nigerians to give them the comfort that made in Nigeria healthcare is good enough. Government cannot go into the hearts of anybody to tell them that education. Remember the straw basket example I gave yesterday. For the benefit of us who were not here yesterday, I said Nigeria is like a straw basket, and the GDP of $526 billion is like a liquid being poured every year into it. What happens? It flows away. How does it flow? I mentioned the JVAs, the profit repatriation by construction companies, by airlines, amortization by bank lending, the forex component of their deposits. Besides those major ones, medical tourism, education tourism, and tourism per se, I listed those. And I said that if we continue to weave in between the basket, reducing the gap in between in such a way that it becomes like plastic, what happens? It will hold the water. And development stays where money is spent. We don't spend money in Nigeria. Just mark that, write it and keep it. Development stays where money is spent. There can never be poverty in the UK because of the shopping malls and because of Oxford Street. There can never be. The same thing with Dubai and other centers, where you have, so long as people are willing to spend money, there can never be poverty. There is poverty in Nigeria. So what I'm saying is, don't have it in your mind that entirely government is going to do everything. So long as we have this inferiority complex that however good what we do is, you will still prefer to go out. Then the private sector, or not the private sector, the citizens have let ourselves, and within years or within decades, the private sector is going to suffer from it, close down. The government efforts will add up to nothing. We must all complement our efforts. I invite you to go and see what has happened in Bayes University. And though it's a success story, it will also make you weep, because we Nigerians are really not helping the situation. We had, before the dollar became what it is today, we're having a steady flow of faculty from the UK and the US and Ireland until it became too expensive. At 365, we could not do what we planned for 185, 195. We could not, so we substituted with Nigerian lecturers, some more lecturers from India and North Africa. We have, and a few from the UK, very few now from the UK. What happens? The same Nigerians that we're doing this for, we provide far, far better quality of education, because as at September last year, 23 out of our graduates have been here to do various master's degrees. 22 of them got distinction. We Nigerians complaining still prefer to go out Benin Republic, Togo, Ghana, Sudan, okay, Uganda, Kenya. Even though we're cheaper, they prefer to go out because they have just put it in their hearts that outside, whatever the situation is, outside is just better. What's more, I do get applications from their faculty to come for exchange or anything. And on a weekly basis, we keep rejecting. We keep rejecting. Because they are not good enough, they are not half as good as the lecturers that we have in Nigeria. So what happens? I tend to wonder who are teaching our students abroad. So have it in mind that the demand has to match the supply. The government can do everything it can to encourage the private sector to do the hospitals. World-class hospitals do that. So long as our people feel it is a social symbol, especially, I'm sorry, it has become norm now for some families. It is now like an abomination to even give birth in Nigeria for some families. They just have to go abroad and give birth. So why are we doing this to ourselves? Is it government policy that can stop this? No. So don't put everything on government. And then why do we need communities? We need communities because of values. We need every Sunday people to go genuinely and sit down and let their pastor or reverend or the bishop speak to their hearts, make them love their communities. And every Friday, or more frequently, for people to sit down, listen carefully about the communities. We need families to hold themselves together, show love, show care, so that there's some value to everybody's life. And even as they're growing up, we need schools that will teach honesty, civic responsibility, and the essence of belonging to communities. Teach patriotism, and so on and so forth. Even if not as a subject, as you're going through your subject, you don't know where you catch it, but you catch that patriotism in your schools. But, Madam, that should be part of our curriculum.
Thank you very much.
Sorry. Yeah, I think it was your question. I was talking for so long, right? Oh, it was yours. Okay.
My name is McDonald, and I just want to ask this question on behalf of a very good friend of mine, Dr. Bode, and with respect to healthcare, just a quick follow-up. He and himself and a friend tried to set up a medical service in Nigeria, and he said he asked his friend, who's going to regulate us? And his friend said, come on, doctor, we're good. The problem to which he had and declined is because he felt that there isn't a good, robust regulatory body looking after what these doctors in the private sector even are providing. So I think just like we have NAFDAC, it's almost as though the medical board that regulates these private doctors are toothless. So they provide services at times that is below the expectation or even the quality deserving of the people to which they are collecting the funds from. How do you see our regulatory body improving to encouraging the doctors in diaspora, especially? Because I think the number of doctors in South Africa and Canada, US, and the UK from Nigeria is significant to make a roundabout turn in our medical care in Nigeria. How do you want to improve on that? Thank you.
Thank you very much,
To the
Mark.
best of my knowledge, it is the Nigerian Medical and Dental Council that not actually regulates, but I think the hospitals, but the practitioners. I think regulating the hospitals, I'm not too sure about this, should rest on the either state governments or local government councils. But you see, nobody has monopoly of knowledge or wisdom. I need lawyers to look into this and advise me accordingly. But bad governance has terrible ramifications. When you have good governance, when you begin to have good governance, it will cascade all the way into each and every sphere of life. And I tell you, education and healthcare are among the first that will be affected. So yes, it's a bit very technical. As I sit here, I don't have that immediate competence to answer you offhand regarding regulating the medical profession. I'm not a lawyer, but I can tell you that we have the attitude, again, to do whatever is necessary for bringing a turnaround. Okay, see it this way again, the second part of your question. I'm aware of the Nigerian professionals. Yesterday I said it, that every self-respecting hospital in the developed world has a top Nigerian surgeon among the 6. The same thing applies to the universities. We know that. And I think you can stay here. You don't even need to come back to Nigeria. But what we need will be your resources. The doctors being produced annually in Nigeria, we can hold on to those for now. If we have your resources in such a way that you are working in a globally A-rated university and we can have you come to teach 3 to 4 weeks in a year at your convenience, I think that is good enough. If we can get you to release equity from what you've been able to do where you are abroad and carefully begin establishing a world-class hospital in Nigeria, using the new doctors that we're now producing, that you are helping us to teach, I think it's a better deal for us. You see, it is very unrealistic, and I'm not one of those who will come and say, disrupt everything now and then. It will just crash. I want things that work out organically. Let's assume there's a very successful medical doctor in the UK who has been here 25 years. And he's so successful, you know what the kind of money they make. He has million pound properties and all that. And all. Fine. If I were to come here as a president and in the daytime we finish our official engagements, at night I will look for those high value. I will look for them. If it means making a phone call and requesting to see him, please, with due respect, can we meet? Yeah. What do you need to set up a hospital in Nigeria? Land? You will get a plot of land tomorrow. Here's your land. What else do you need? All I need you to do is that kind of credit, that you can get that credit and start sending money every month. While you, if you are satisfied, continue to do more. If you're not satisfied, sell it, stop it. We'll do. Those new doctors that we are bringing, we are graduating in Nigeria, they should be the ones, together with your expertise. Then if out of 1,000 doctors around, you have 50 to 60 who feel they should come back to Nigeria, they are more than welcome. Whenever they want to go back abroad, they are more than welcome. This is a free world. I'm not the type who will come and say, leave what you're doing. No, you don't, people, you can't just live their lives and come back. And even the UK government, those governments, they will not be happy, they will not allow you do that. Make it gradual, make it practical, and while it is being gradual, Nigerians are beginning to realize that it is stupid to go out for what you can do here in Nigeria. It is cheaper, and to an extent, you're even getting a better quality. What does a sick person need? Immediate attention. If you have to fly out a sick person, then maybe he's not really sick. Maybe he's not really sick. Yeah, this is an area where sense should dominate.
Honourable Senator, welcome you to London. I'm Franklin Taylor, study health and social care. Most of the questions I would have asked, you've already answered them. And to be honest, through your answers, I can see that, it's really what Nigeria needs: honesty and practicality. And, through your answers that you've given, it ticks all the boxes. One aspect that we haven't touched is transportation. Quite right, I know it's a big jar to go straight to transportation when we need to talk about health, when we need to talk about security and financial situation of Nigeria. But as well, they all work hand in hand. And I think security and transportation should work together. Because in these places where we are in a foreign country, or what we're used to, you can go take transportation at any point of the time and go anywhere, security backwards and forward. Now, I just wanted to know what your take is on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, there isn't a specific question from you. What you want to know is what my take is. I believe, like every other sector, solid minerals and everything, the private sector should play a dominant role, the dominant role in that. With all the support, we'll push everything over, so long as we work on the fundamentals, push everything over to the private sector. But I would love to see, first of all, the import duty of 75% on cars reduced, especially for commercial vehicles, something like 5%. I'm not a consultant in transportation, but I have done a bit of reading, and I'm not pushing my luck. We might already have missed the kind of rail transport that you have in UK. And there's heavy reliance on road transport in Nigeria. That is not to say that you cannot have rail in certain backbones. Lagos, Port Harcourt, Lagos, Kano, Sokoto, Maiduguri, Abuja, and the network like that. What the British left behind can be touched up. But the way we have mass rail transport for passengers, we might have missed it already, because road transport will continue to compete with it. And because Nigerians are highly individualistic, and also it's a class society with a shrunk middle class, all those kind of considerations. So we need to crash the cost of vehicles. We need to get Pan and Von back. We need to get very quickly, and that's why we need the private sector. High net worth individuals, well-meaning for Nigeria. There is no reason why the Kias and Hyundais and the Sangyongs and others cannot start manufacturing, even if we start with 10% content. We can manufacture tires in Nigeria. Before you know it, we'll graduate to producing half those cars in Nigeria, at least the input into them. We can produce the seats, we can produce the fabrics, we can produce the covers, we have glass, so on and so forth. And then they can come with the engines and our locally produced items, we just fit in, we can produce all the trafficators and headlights. These are very simple technologies. Mold, boil it, inject it into another, it freeze, install the... It beats my imagination why we cannot do these things, honestly. Crash the price of vehicles. But here's the catch. And before I tell you the catch, I'll tell you a short story. I rushed into Lagos for a day trip just to go and clear my containers and back. And I chartered a taxi. So he took me into one of these container terminals, and there was water, and he fell into a very deep pothole. It was this new Nissan Sunny that one of the governors then, I think it was Fashola, did it. He gave them loans to buy it. Air conditioned, looking decent. So he fell very deep into it. Without taking my excuse, the guy screamed and parked by the roadside and went out and checked the car. Oh my God, yes, sir. So when he came back to the car, I said, my friend, don't you think you should have asked me before parking and going out to do this thing? Sorry, sir. I said, okay. Is this your car? He said, yes, sir. I said, no wonder. Now, the catch is give stake to people, bring them out of poverty. I actually appreciated the fact that he cared for the car because it is his own. Because he was going to finish paying it back in 4 years. So he will take care of everything possible. Now, what I want to see is what you used to call area boys or the almajiris or everything. Let them have some kind of a stake in life. Let the car belong to them, even if it is, and they have to finish paying it in the next 8 to 10 years. You will see them behave responsibly. That's why I kept talking about credit. Now you have somebody who owns a small Nissan Sunny or Toyota Corolla. If he works diligently, that Toyota Corolla can buy him a 2.5 million, 3 million naira, 1 or 2 bedroom in a social housing somewhere, and he'll be paying tuition fee for 2 or 3 children. And by the time he retires, he can refinance the car, sell it, or give. So much can happen that way. So I am not only talking about transportation, I'm linking it to manufacturing, I'm linking it to financing and consumer financing and so on and so forth. But here's another big one. If you remove, now we have an 8 trillion naira budget in which anything maybe up to 1 trillion will be going into infrastructure. Now, the problem with Nigerians is that we don't like to give money to our government. We can spend it on frivolities, on anything else, but so long as it is going to our government, we think it is a loss. When you have a leader that can connect with the people and literally force them to do the right thing, and that right thing, you use it for the right thing, then you have a way. Because I believe if you lift the burden from the government, what we know as number plates today are not number plates. What we have in the UK here, you can use simple digits. We have 10 million cars. Now, 10 million cars times 100,000 naira per annum. If you like, pay monthly. If you like, pay annually and get a discount. That money is going to be used for road maintenance, road safety, security, and everything. You get my point? What is more, concessioneering is going to be taken to the next level. There are companies all over the world that have stagnated because there are no projects anywhere. Particularly in the Middle East, they are looking for where to go, but Nigeria is out of the question. I have met so many like them. Come to Nigeria, if you have 100 kilometers of concession, you must be constructing another 100 kilometers. given certain parameters to meet, and we allow you to charge, what do you call it, tolls.
Yeah.
It can be organized. Right now I cannot tell you specifically. Experts will tell you how it is going to be organized. But there must be a federalized road tax system in Nigeria. Anywhere you see something working well, it is paid for. That is the fact of life. Now, what you have to do is to convince your country, convince your people that this is yours. If you want it, pay for it.
Thank you.
And I can go on talking about it, but you know, like I said, I'm not an expert in transportation. We can integrate air transport, and you can have very cheap air links, particularly the southeast. They do travel a lot. Little do they know that with the right entrepreneurs, at about 40 to 50% more on what they are paying for road transport, they can fly from their respective destinations to wherever they go, and you know, frees up more time for more business and less stress to them. What is happening now is that all over the world there are light aircraft from 40 to 60 seaters, including propeller ones, okay, that can be, even if it means higher purchased, to be used for those. You only need the entrepreneurs. And what we're lacking in Nigeria are entrepreneurs. Why are we lacking entrepreneurs? Because the government kills them. Because the government spoils them. How does the government spoil them? Contracts. The first thing I will do is that if you are looking for easy money, you are wasting your time. If you want to go and hire aircraft and come and operate them in Nigeria, I will work with you to get the funding to come here and organize it. All the support. If you want to bring hospitals, I and team will work with you. If you want to build schools, I and team will work with you. But remove it from your mind that you're ever going to one contract. Simple, it's this water bought in ministry. If this costs 100 naira for a conference holding today, okay, somebody can supply this at 1,000 naira. No questions asked. And this happens every day in our system.